5, 4, 3. That's the motto, and that is it for us today. And we'll leave you with it. I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. In 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to the Wolff Den, presented by Winnigan Academy. WinniganAcademy.com. Mark Moyer doing some great things with his networking events and informational events. Today we have Ryan Nurse joining the Wolff Den. Ryan, great to have you here.
Hello, Matt. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me on today.
So you are the fool around the world, but tell everybody what that means, and then we'll get into it.
Yes, I am. So my name's Ryan Nurse, and I'm a traumatic brain injury survivor who's also suffered from and overcome depression.
And obviously not from the U.S., so where are you?
So I'm just on the outskirts of London, UK, so southeast England.
Okay, great. And I think I might have found you on Clubhouse or Instagram. I think it might have been Clubhouse in a mental health discussion, which we'll certainly get into. But let's tell everybody about the traumatic brain injury, how it happened, and how you overcame, because it's a pretty remarkable story.
Yeah, sure, of course. So just over 9 years ago now, I was attacked on my way home from a nightclub, and with no physical signs of trauma at all, I just went home as usual and got into bed. But to be fair, when I turned up at my parents' door, I just literally blacked out. I don't remember anything from that time onwards. Sadly, my parents couldn't wake me up the next morning, and I had to be rushed into hospital where I suffered from a blood clot due to a bleed on the brain and a fractured skull. And because of the injuries that I sustained, I had to be put into an induced coma. And my parents were told that I would be very lucky to survive the night. So, just over 3 days in, I was being kept alive, obviously, by the life support machine. And my parents were told that it wasn't looking great at all. And on the third day, they actually gathered my loved ones and suggest to switch the life support machine off because there was zero brain activity. But my dad ultimately saved my life by telling the specialist, no, the machine isn't getting turned off, because like Ryan takes his time to do anything, to just give him that time that he needs.
That's an incredible story. So you got attacked on a way home from a nightclub. Did they catch the perpetrators? Was it one person? Why were you attacked?
Yeah, it was just when people go out for like drinks and stuff, people don't know what they're doing half the time, and some people just go out as well and they just want to have a fight, and I think these guys just literally wanted to have a fight with anybody, and sadly it was me and a few others that were on the end of it. So um, what I say to people quite often is some people maybe just like I say go out to have a fight, but they don't realise that the injuries or damage they could do to potential individuals. And I don't think that when you have a fight with someone that you want to actually kill that person, or maybe but like potentially kill somebody. So it just goes to show the power of like one single punch can kill somebody. I mean, I was attacked. I was punched in the head multiple times, probably between 10 and 30 times. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of times. And yeah, like I say, it was just I don't even know why. It was just one of them things, like things got heated for no reason at all, and these guys just wanted to have a fight with somebody. And like I say, we was on the end of it.
Yeah, so my friend Brent is usually here to watch. He's a big supporter of the program, and we joke around, and it's kind of half kidding, but I have a no punch in the face policy. Like, I would never punch someone in the face, and this is the exact reason why. Like, I could want to get into a fight, and I'll rumble if I have to. I wouldn't. There's not a whole reason. I can't even imagine why I would rumble. But if I'm in the rumble, I'll get you on the ground. I'll try and hurt you or prevent you from hurting me, but I will not punch you in the face. And this is for the exact same reason. You never know what could happen. I mean, if you had died, that I don't know how you live with yourself on that, regardless of even if you did something bad to him. And, we had an instance here in the States, in Florida, where there was an older man there was an argument outside this discount movie theater, and this older man pushed this other guy, he fell, hit his head on the concrete, and he died. And
Wow.
it's just, you got to be real careful about that. So it's a great point that you make about the type of, I don't know, it's just a crazy thing to do. Same thing with we saw in the politics here with the old man who was trying to talk to the police, and it was just a crazy video where they push him, he falls on the ground. And it was like out of the movies where you see like blood coming down. I guess we'll get into the miraculousness of your comeback, but did anyone get punished for this fight, or was it just boys will be boys?
Yeah, to be fair, it was more say like I won't go too deep into this, but what it was really is basically our word against these other guys, because there was a few of us just going home, and these guys attacked us whilst we were on the way home, and basically it was our word against theirs. They did get punished, and they got some sort of sentence, but it was nothing compared to what it should or could have been. So yeah, there was not much. So yeah, you know what I mean. Like after it, what happened? Like it could have been a lot worse.
There's a lot bigger fish to fry, as they say, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Was anyone else hurt badly, or was it just you? I mean, obviously people
So
were hurt.
some of my friends that I was obviously with that got attacked also. They suffered from, say, like one of my friends had, obviously I got told this because I was obviously in a coma for a long time or a period of time and in the hospital. But one of my friends got really beaten in the face, and he had black eyes apparently for weeks. But obviously I wasn't there to see that.
I got a story for you. I don't know if I've told this before, but at least on the Wolff Den, people who know me know. I was playing in a basketball tournament at my university, and someone on the sidelines told their boyfriend who I was playing against that I called her a black B word. And I didn't, but this guy sucker punched me from behind, and I felt like my jaw was broken. So, and they wanted me to continue playing. So I said, forget that. I went to the police station, which was right across the street. And he said, well, you can file a report, but this guy, they went and arrested him and had him handcuffed. But, they weren't going to do anything. He had like a minor, like he was driving without a license when he was like 13. He lived in a trailer park. It was really just a stupid situation. Nothing was going to happen. But, I filed a report and nothing happened. Well, fast forward 20 something years later, I start working at LexisNexis, and I have access to my reports. And there was a felony on my, it wasn't a felony. There was something on my permanent record about that because she filed something against me. I had no idea. The police didn't even tell me, and I wouldn't even have found this out if I didn't work at LexisNexis. And for 20 years, people are doing a background check on me, and they see this. Now, my wife, my now wife, who was an attorney back then, told me that you're allowed to expunge this stuff. So I actually expunged it, but you're only allowed one. So not that I plan on doing it, but if anything else ever happened, it could be something like what you encountered, where it's not even your fault, but you got to protect someone, and now all of a sudden you got this on your record, you won't be able to get it off. So it's it's just it's a funny thing about he said, she said, back to what you were talking about. But let's get back to this
Yeah.
beginning of this story. So how long were you in the coma for?
Yeah, sure. So in total in the coma, it was about a week in total. So like I say, when I was in the coma and they suggest turning the life support machine off, my dad did save my life because he told them no. So in that period where he told them no, that gave me the chance to obviously to begin to recover and to show signs of response. Because like I say, there was zero brain activity and I wasn't responding at all. And sadly, there was, say, people in exactly the same position as me on a life support machine where their loved ones, it could be brothers, sisters, uncles, sons, and their loved ones made that decision to switch the life support machine off because they listened to the specialists. But sadly, they didn't survive, and that could and would have been me. So my dad did do that, which, like I say, which ultimately did save my life. And although I was still in the coma for like I say, about a week, specialists did say that I would still be lucky to survive, and that if I was ever to wake up, that I'll be in a vegetative state for the rest of my life and I would never walk or talk again. And over the next sort of week period, where they did obviously take me out of the coma, because the first time when they tried to reduce the sedation, it was like I wasn't responding and I wasn't breathing by myself. So they had to put me back into the coma. But then a second time, luckily for me, I did start to respond. And it started maybe with a twitch of a hand or a twitch of a toe, um, up until the point where I did obviously wake up. And the very first time that I remember looking down on myself, I was in the intensive care unit and it was pitch black. And I was on my own, obviously, it was at night. And I actually suffered from an out of body experience too, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into that. But timing is everything in life, because I can tell you, for me, if my and I don't know if I have a living will, but the last thing I would ever want in my life is to be, in a vegetative state where I can't. And there's even probably less than that I wouldn't want. So my wish would probably be to have, have my family pull the plug. And I think they know that about me. So it's interesting, just the luck of the draw or timing, or, who knows what your father was feeling. I mean, I don't know that I'd do it after a week, because I'd still want to find out, but there'd be a certain point, if that had gone to a month, right, or 3 months, that at some point your dad probably would have said, maybe, but there's also the type of people like my sister who would be like, I'm never going to do this. Someone else is going to have to do this. I can't do this. I don't want to do it. It just can't be. So, really lucky on the timing. I'm not so much a religious person. This is clearly something that we can categorize as a miracle, right? But
Yeah,
what do you attribute to how you recovered, at least to even awake? And then, do you have any recollection of being in the coma? Do you remember anything, or was it just you're up and now, what the hell happened?
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant question, by the way, Matt. And being in the coma, like I say, I suffered from the out of body experience, and it was literally like a dream, but it was so, so real. I could actually I think I could make a movie on it because it was that clear. And
Hold on, sorry. This is
yeah, go.
during the coma or right when you woke up?
So when I woke up, I just remembered like every single thing. So obviously this was what I saw whilst I was in the coma. But as soon as I wake up, I was just like, "Whoa, that was not real," but I thought it was real. So yeah, I've actually written this all down because I'll go into this later. But I'm actually writing a book as well on my life. So I'll go into this later. But yeah, so when I was in the coma, I honestly believe that, like I say, I'm not religious at all. But from what I saw, I honestly believe, I believe in the universe. Like, there's something or someone out there that knows a hell of a lot more than we know. And oh, it was crazy. Like, I honestly believe that I saw myself through the eyes of my creator.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like I have deja vu. I don't like where something happens. I'm like, I could have sworn I dreamt about this, or I was daydreaming about this, or thinking about this. It's a very weird feeling, but I don't know that it's anything that I've actually verified, or, you can write stuff down, but then that could be like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. So I don't know, but that sounds weird. It sounds great, a great book, because it's just, man, it's such a story, and I think the story's going to get even better, because you wake up and now what? Are you okay? Are you, what's the process from when you woke up to when you were, released from the hospital?
Yeah, no, that's another great question. So, like I say, view myself through the eyes of, like I say, my opinion, through the eyes of my creator. This incredible experience. The very first time that I woke up, like I said earlier, in the intensive care unit, I looked down at myself and I had obviously wires and needles penetrating my body and had a tracheostomy in my throat. And I was like, whoa, like this is real. Like, because at first I almost thought I was dreaming again, but no, it was real. And that day, parents come, loved ones come, and they realised that I was awake and I could almost see them, because for a long time my parents would come in to see me just laying on a machine and just listening to the beeps of the machine because I wasn't responding. So now I was obviously responding, and all I could do is maybe there was a lot of sign language that went on, or pointing at things and just waving and nodding, I guess, for a long time until obviously the tracheostomy did come out. I did have to learn to talk again because I had a patch that was over the hole in my neck, and I couldn't speak properly for a long time. But again, I was progressing, which was great, and maybe I'm thinking possibly just over 2 weeks or 3 weeks in almost now, and I did have to start to learn to walk again. So it was on the Zimmer frame to start with, and the very first time that I walked myself to the toilet for the very first time, and it was literally 10 steps across the ward, because I was moved around quite a lot of different wards, but this was the ward where I was in with other people, and I got my Zimmer frame and I walked across the ward, like I say, possibly 10 steps to the toilet. So I go in, took a wee. As I turn around, I'm washing my hands, but I'm looking down, obviously, washing my hands, but it almost felt like something's like burning my forehead. It's like someone's staring at me, and I'm just like, honestly, like this is crazy. So my head's burning, and as I look up, it was pretty dark in this toilet. And as I'm looking up, I just look and I just noticed that it's a mirror, and I hadn't seen myself obviously since that prior night to the attack. So I'm looking up slowly, and as I look up, I sort of my eyes met my eyes in the mirror, and I just looked straight back down. I had to take it all in. Like it was very surreal, but I couldn't actually understand what I was looking at, and
How
I don't
bad? How
know.
bad was it?
So
I mean, look,
yeah, like I say,
in a boxing movie or something.
well, it was scary. Put it that
Yeah,
way. I didn't understand what I was looking at. Like when you look in the mirror, you normally just look and you go, "I'm going to see myself." And as I
yeah.
made contact, like I say, with my own eyes, I was just like, "Whoa!" And I just looked straight back down, and I had to take a breath and take it all in, and just think, "What is this?" And like I say, my mind was just like going 1,000 miles per hour then. And as I slowly looked back up again, I just looked and then I just stared at myself. And like I say, I couldn't realize it was actually me to start with. And I was looking very confused, and I was just taking it all in. And sort of the first thought that comes to my mind was just Frankenstein, because I didn't look like me. In all honesty, I did not look like me. My face was like a skeleton. Half of my head was shaved. I had staples the whole way down my head. My left eye was pointing upwards, and I had a hole in my throat as well. And it just didn't look like me. And I was like, "Is this me?" And I was just touching myself, and I was just crying my eyes out. And yeah, then I just put my head down, and I just remember I was crying for probably about 10 minutes, just bawling my eyes out, and again just taking it all in, just to understand like what someone had done to me, like the impact that what had happened had done to me. So yeah, it was very hard and difficult taking that all in. Um, yeah, obviously I went back over to my family that are all gathered around my bed, and my friends were there too, and they seen that I'd been crying, and they were just saying like, what's wrong?" Excuse me, and I was like, "Me, it's look at me, I'm horrible." I was saying, and they were going, "No, you're not," and I said, "I am," and they were obviously like comforting me and being kind and nice to me, and they were like, "You're fine." I'm like, "I'm not," and yeah, that was pretty hard that day, but after that day, I guess I did sort of come on leaps and bounds where I was really progressing, especially with my walking. Like soon after, I was on crutches, and to the point where I could start to almost walk on my own again with the assistance of the crutches. And before you know it, like I say, at the end of that week, approaching like or 3.5 weeks in, they were like, "We're going to transfer you to a hospital that's closer to home." And I was like, amazing, because my parents were doing like a 1 hour drive one way and then back to 2 hours to come and see me one day, but they'll come up twice a day. So they were doing like 4 hours worth of traveling most days to come and see me. So I was like, oh, thank God for them as well. Like, they come and see me at a hospital that's closer to home. So they transferred me, and I was literally in this next hospital for 2 days. and they were like, "You can go home." And when I told my parents that, when they turned up, my parents, in all honesty, didn't believe me when I said they said I can go home, and they were like, "No, you're too ill still. Like you're not ready to go home. Like you're on crutches. You've had a brain operation. Like you can't go home." And I'm like, serious, and we had to go and get the nurses to come and confirm that I was allowed to go home. And
I can believe that. Yeah, well, since you were laughing a little bit, I'm going to do a bad joke and say I sometimes cry when I look in the mirror too these days. But wanted to touch on a couple things you said. Do you remember your first words to everyone, or what their first words were to you?
um, yeah, I remember like some of the first things. Obviously, like there was police officers when I first woke up, obviously because of what had happened. So they were just asking me questions, and I had to. I actually wrote some stuff down, when I first woke up. But it was very bad because, like I say, my vision when I was bad. But then I just remember, say, my mum, dad, and siblings around me just waving at me and stuff and saying, "Can you hear us?" And I just nodded and stuff. But I was very, very weak. First words, there was a lot of words said. When I couldn't speak, I remember the first words because there was like one of these speak and spell touchpad things. I had to point at the letters on the piece of paper,
Yeah.
and some of the first words that I wrote on that was I wrote this in my book, shit, because I needed a shit at one point. I wrote shit on there, so excuse my French, but yeah, that was the thing that really stood out for me, and it's something that stands out in the book too.
We got Stewie dropping F-bombs in the intro. I think we could say the word shit on here. It's
Yeah.
take away our my feed here. Well, just a question popped in my head. The guys that were involved in this fight, have you ever seen or heard from them again?
No, I didn't even know them, to be fair, before that night anyway. Like, and that's
They
the
weren't
whole
like
thing.
you. They don't even. Is there possible they don't even know what happened to you, or?
Oh no, yeah, but they obviously know what happened after because of the whole court situation. Like, it had to go to court and everything like that. And like I said, I don't want to go too much into this side of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't know these guys prior to the attack, and the reason is because we was all out one night, and they were arguing with other people. Obviously, they wanted to have a fight, and it ended up being us innocent people after just got on the wrong end of the stick, I guess. So we end up
Yeah.
taking the brunt for them arguing with other people.
The reason I asked that is because we're obviously we'll talk about your life after the incident, but I'd be curious to hear their life after. Did it affect them in any way? Did they understand, that do you ever think about that? Is it something that
Yeah,
you
I
know?
don't know. Like I say, I've never spoke to any of them. I've never. I don't even know what they do. I know nothing about these people. So yeah, I don't even know what they do with them lives now. Whether they thought about it and thought, "Core, like we really did almost kill that boy," or whether they just forgot about it. But the one thing that I can say is like forgiveness for me is a big thing, and I've learned just to forgive these people because I honestly believe that holding on to anger is like drinking poison, but expecting the other person to die. So many, say, friends, loved ones of mine say like, "Oh, are you not angry with these people, like almost killing you?" And when I say go on social media and say share my journey, and people say like, "Are you not angry with these people?" Like, why would I be angry? Because they've taught me some very valuable life lessons by doing that. Like, yeah, it could have taken my life, but thank God for me, it hasn't, and it made me grow up a lot quicker than would have maybe differently. But to be fair, before I was a lot grown up anyway. But it just made me realise a lot of things about how precious life is, and yeah, it's made me
Yeah.
value life a lot more. So it's a good thing. It's a positive.
Yeah, I agree. And we always hear a lot of, family members talk about those who lost loved ones and, going over and forgiving. And I understand both sides. Like, I understand if you're going to be angry at someone, it just depends. Some of it depends on, any kind of remorse on the other side. But in general, hanging on to anger is not healthy for you. So but forget, remembering it and kind of using it as motivation. I don't know. There's probably a lot of different ways you can look at it that way. When you talk about having to learn how to talk and walk, is that that someone had to teach you how to do it, or you just like struggled doing it and it took time to kind of be able to do it?
Yeah, so obviously I was bedbound for however long, a few weeks or whatever, and my legs have lost all sensation. But I'll tell you a funny story now, and like I say, I wrote this in my book too. Um, so when I was in the intensive care unit, and this goes back to, sorry for me laughing, but this goes back to the whole shit situation. So I'm going to explain it now in front of everyone here. So when I was in the intensive care unit, um, I needed to go for a shit for the number two. So I was obviously bedbound, and I didn't realise that. I didn't realise like what was going on, like whether they come round with a toilet or I just walked to the toilet. So I thought, yeah, I need to tell them that I need to get up to go for the toilet.
And
And
follow.
yeah, so I pressed the emergency buzzer on the side of my bed, and my mum was there with my grandparents too, and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I said, like, "No, no, no, like I need to go to the toilet." And
Hold on a second. Aren't you in the UK? Aren't you supposed to say the loo and not the toilet?
yeah, loo, toilet, it doesn't matter. Yeah, same toilet, loo, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I call it toilet. So I need to go to the toilet, and I pressed the buzzer and nothing. And my parents, my mum even was like saying, "What do you need?" And I picked the little board up and I wrote shit on the thing. So my mum went to go and get the lady for the what do you call it? The thing that you sit on. I've forgotten the name now.
The Porto toilet or porta
Yeah,
potty?
yeah. I'm trying to think of the bloody name. I just completely forgot it. But yeah, literally the porta potty thing, whatever you call it. And like I say, my mum went out of the room. Grandparents went out of the room too, and I was obviously waiting, but I was desperate, and no one knew I was that desperate. So I'm thinking I need to get up and go to the toilet, and I'm pressing this button, and I kept seeing a lady walk past, and my mum was gone at this point, and I kept seeing the lady walk past, but she was obviously trying to find it, the thing to wheel in for me to sit on. So I'm pressing the button, thinking she's got to hurry up, she's got to hurry up, and before long, I thought they're just, I don't know, my mind wasn't totally with it then, so I was like, if she just keeps walking past and smiling at me, I'm just going to go to the toilet myself. And again, like I say, mum and grandparents were long gone, so I just kept seeing this lady walk past. So I thought, you know what, they're like having a laugh with me, like they're playing around with me. So I thought I'm going myself. So I didn't realise I couldn't walk. So I just pulled the bed covers off. I literally had to pick one leg up, put it off the side. I picked my other leg up, put it off the side. And I was like, right, I'm gonna go. So I just pushed my body up with all my strength. I just went off the side of the bed, smack, and I just went face first on the floor. Bearing in mind, I had a tracheostomy, I had wires all in me. The whole machine almost fell down with it, and I'm laying on the floor. All the alarms are going off, and these yeah, people didn't know what to do. Like the alarms were all going off. I'm just laying there, just like I couldn't move. And luckily, like a top surgeon come in with his lovely suit on, and he just picked me up and he just put me on the bed and like, what are you doing? Like, what's happened? I'm just like, I couldn't speak, so I'm just like sign language in, and then yeah, my parents come back and I see my mum come at the door. And they literally shoved her out, and then they pulled the curtains around me because they obviously needed to sort me all back out. But yeah, that was a funny story.
My friends are gonna love toilet. We love toilet humor. My wife
Yeah,
doesn't
that is
understand
literally.
why I love toilet humor. It's just I don't know. But the big question is, did you make it to the toilet?
I did. They wheeled it around me. Totally forgot the name. I can't even remember the name of what you called it. But yeah, porta potty or whatever you call it. But yeah, they wheeled it out to me in the end. But I didn't realise that I couldn't just walk to the toilet.
Yeah. Um, what are the? I mean, we'll go to today, but then go. Talk a little bit about how we got here. Sitting here today, I saw some pictures on Instagram when you had the shaved head and you have some scars here. Is that all you have now that has that indicates what happened to you?
Yeah, so I've got a tracheostomy scar there. I've got a scar that runs all the way down the side of my head, but I've got long COVID lockdown haircut, so you can't see it. Um, for a long time after the attack, and when I come out of hospital, for years on end, to be fair, I was very tired and forgetfulness. Like I could literally forget a complete conversation. Like I could be here talking with you and just forget every single thing we're talking about because my short-term memory was really bad. And like I say, those both went on for years. Tiredness and memory loss went on for a long time. But even now, because I've just proved it, I get memory loss. But it's literally
I get memory loss. I forget too.
it's just one single word, one single thing. So I'm trying to remember the name of this potty thing. Like I can't remember what we call it in the UK, and I've totally forgotten what it's called. But if I stress over it, it just makes it worse. So I just say, "Nah, forget it."
Yeah. Well, let's tell everyone what we're doing. You're listening and watching the Wolff Den here with Ryan Nurse. Fool around the world. Ryan had a traumatic brain injury, left him in a coma. Doctors were saying he had a zero to little % chance of surviving. His parents had faith. About a week later, he came out, and here we are today. What was your life like before the incident? What was your trajectory? What were you and where were you headed?
Yeah, no, that's another brilliant question. So throughout my say teenage years, growing into early adulthood, very confused I was. Like as much as I enjoyed doing stuff on the weekends with friends, maybe out and push bikes or motorbikes. We used to like going motocross and stuff. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with say the rest of my life. Like a lot of people say, I know, for instance, when you're at school, you're like, I want to be go on a rocket or something like that. Like I want to be just you name it. Like these people have all these amazing things, like movie stars and stuff, and pilots. And I've always been like, I'm not sure what I want to do with my life. So prior to the attack, I guess, very confused. And I was working at the time, mechanic, so I didn't know what to do because I enjoyed motocross. I thought I'm going to become a mechanic, so I did. Left school, become a mechanic. Obviously, the attack happened. Um, but yeah, I'll go on to this later. Sort of what I've got from that.
Yeah, because it all ties into the life is short and miracle of you coming out and your out of body experience, and now what are you? Well, I guess tell us what you did. I mean, what did you
Yeah,
do?
sure.
In the world.
Yeah, so soon after, like I say, soon after coming out of the attack, a few months went by. Very, very, like I say, tired, forgetful. I couldn't really function, to be fair. I just woke up, sat around, and just wanted to go back to sleep, and that lasted for a long time. But maybe 3, 4, 5 months after, I actually got into a full-time relationship, which is with what is now my ex-partner, and that was incredible because, like I say, she introduced me to world travel, which I love today, and yeah, very, very, just exactly what I needed, like something completely different to what I was used to. Although I was
How'd
very tired and yeah, go ahead.
how'd you meet her?
Just I knew her before, but I hadn't seen her for a long, long time, and we ended up just coming together. I don't know how, but we ended up seeing each other quite a lot, and yeah,
Great.
then we ended up getting into a relationship. So it's almost like it was just like meant to be, sort of thing. And I know it sounds cliche and all that, but it's just like we just come together somehow, and it was like yeah, we were there, and we ended up just dating to the time we got into a relationship. So yeah, brilliant, amazing. I was doing so many new things that I'd never even done before because the thing is, I was so scared and anxious and fearful to do anything, especially after that attack. Like I didn't really want to try anything new. So yeah, she gave me that little push that I needed to try all these new things, which was like I say, incredible. And like I say, long story short, won't go into that too much, but we spent a 6.5 year relationship with each other, which was yeah great, but obviously towards the end it wasn't too good, and we just got back from Florida at the end of 2018, and when we got back, she come out with we should start spending as much time with each other, and for me that was obviously a big gutter because we spent loads of time with each other. Like we lived together. We spent all of our time together, other than say working most of the time. So I was gutted and upset. And as much as we was arguing throughout a few of the holidays that year, like I didn't think it was that bad in order to not spend as much time with each other or potentially split up. So yeah, I
That's
was confused.
a weird way of saying we should break up. Like it's not, 6 years in, you don't say we should spend less time together. Maybe 6 months, and you'll be like,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
but
so that's why I was confused. I was just thinking, oh my God, so I was almost like trying to force say like, come on, like, what do I need to do and that sort of stuff. But in the end, I realised she wanted space. That's what she told me. So I give her that space. But the more space that I give her, the more we drifted apart, and we was living in a house together, making it amicable. But it was it was horrible, to be fair. And I obviously spent Christmas alone that year, 2018/19, uh, into February the next year, 2019, which was my birthday. Spent alone, which was horrible. Yeah, obviously I went over to see my parents, but I didn't really want to be around anybody because I was suffering. And March 2019, we had a trip booked up to go backpacking around Cape Town for 2 weeks, and she obviously didn't want to go. So I was very, very fearful because I'd never been abroad on my own without her. Like she was the only person that I'd been abroad with. So I was pretty scared to go on my own, in all honesty. But I did. I built up that courage to say, look, you know what, I'm going to go for it. So I did. But the weekend before I left, I actually went out for some food in a restaurant with a good friend of mine, and I ended up bumping into my ex-partner, which obviously, who wanted to be single. I bumped into her with another guy in a restaurant, and not only was this like a big, it was gutting, it was heartbreaking. It was this big sense of liberation because all of those thoughts that I'd been making up in my mind and thinking, is this happening, is that happening, it almost just, everything was come true. Like I was right, and I wasn't say going insane, or I wasn't making things up. Like it was all true. So that was a pretty bad day of my life, but it was also a pretty good day of my life. So yeah, you know what, I'm gonna go on this trip and I'm just gonna enjoy myself. So I did. I went to Cape Town. Fantastic trip. Met some amazing people that are still called friends now, and we speak to each other on like a frequent basis. I felt like a new man, in all honesty, because I was taking myself outside of my comfort zone by myself because I realised like the strength that I had on my own, and I thought, you know what, I can do this. So I did. But the very first day that I got back from Cape Town, I just plummeted because what happened is I was obviously living in a home on my own at this point because my ex-partner didn't come home after that day. And the first day that I walked into an empty home, I cried my eyes out because at that point, two of the things that I hated was my own company and the sound of silence. And living in a home on your own, all you got is your own company and silence. So yeah, the depression really just sort of kicked in from there on, and I just downhill spiraled, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. Where I couldn't concentrate. I'd go to work and I was breaking down at work because I was bottling up all these emotions. Um, my obviously mental health was suffering. My physical health was suffering because I actually quit the gym because I was sick of going to the gym and lying to people and putting on, say, this brave face and pretending that I was okay when I really wasn't. And my personal hygiene suffered because I could spend literally a whole weekend in bed without. I'd get up for a drink and that's about it. Yeah, I wasn't eating properly, etc.
yeah.
And did you want to ask questions? Sorry.
No, I've
Yeah,
been there. I understand,
yeah,
but I think, and there's never a good thing about this, but the the thing about for you is that you knew what it was. I mean, there was no guessing why you were like this.
oh
So
yeah.
how long were you in it, and how did you end up getting help?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a brilliant question again. So, from say getting back to Cape Town to the day that say I moved out of that house, it was about, I'm guessing off the top of my head again, I think it's about a 5 month period it was. So every day basically got worse. Because at first it was almost like a groundhog day. It was just like I was repeating the same thing. But then maybe if you, I don't know, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. I was desperate, for some sort of happiness. I was sat in my own company that I didn't like, bottling these emotions up, not eating properly, not sleeping because I couldn't concentrate, and I was just desperate for, like I say, happiness. I wasn't sleeping because I was sat up all night long Googling how to be happy. And I would click on every single website on my phone, and the bright light from my phone was just keeping me awake, and I was just fixated on trying to find some sort of external happiness. And this, like I say, this went on for a long, long period. And yeah, it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where I actually resorted to drink and drugs. And I'd maybe drink maybe 2 to 3 times a year prior to this. I'd find myself drinking maybe sometimes even 2 to 3 times a night just to sort of forget all of my troubles. And the whole drugs point side of it is I was just, again, that external happiness. I was going out clubbing, pubs, bars, restaurants, you name it. I was like, I'd find anyone to hang around with and just spend time with because I didn't want to go home on my own. And I see people say sniffing cocaine, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to find happiness there. And I did maybe for a few hours, but the next day it was a lot worse. And that ditch that I was in just got a lot deeper. And it got to the point where I did say to myself, look, this can't go on for any longer, so I'm gonna have to reach out for some help. So I did. I went to my local GP and I told them the situation. And as much as I know they're stressed out and under pressure, it felt like they didn't really want to listen to me, and they just said to me, "This is what you need: antidepressants. Take them. They'll make you feel worse before they make you feel better, but they will make you feel better in the long run." And I was just like, oh, and then there's a few questions asked, etc. But I didn't feel too great. I didn't feel like there was any empathy there at all. And yeah, I felt like I wasn't getting listened to as much, you know.
I'll tell you, I very similar stuff. You answered the question I was going to ask, was how bad did it get? Which is bad. It sounds like it got bad, but it wasn't like, I'm thinking of ending things, and probably.
Oh, yeah, it did. It did. I'll tell you after this. It did. Yeah, it did get
Okay.
to that stage.
I was going to say that would be a weird thing to do. Like, you survived all this, and then mentally, again, it's stuff you can't control in a way. I never thought of ending my life. I knew I'd be better. I just didn't know how and when. So it's interesting for that. But you said something that reminded me when I went to the psychiatrist the first time, and we sat down. She asked me very generic questions. Said, "You need medicine. Here it is." And I remember crying on the ride home because having that same feeling that you had of just robot. You're talking to a robot it didn't matter what I was going to say. And the thing is, we know we need medicine. I mean, you need some kind of medicine, and the medicine does the heavy lifting in a lot of ways. But to have that with no empathy and no conversation is a tough pill to swallow. Pun intended.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So yeah, I took the prescription away with me when I spoke to, say, loved ones, friends, family that had possibly, because some of my friends, say work colleagues, been on antidepressants themselves. So I showed them the prescription, and my manager actually said, like, no way, like that's way too strong, especially for someone first time on antidepressants. So I was like, I don't know. So I did panic a bit. I thought, you know what, I don't want to take this because I honestly felt that I hadn't exhausted all avenues yet. So I took myself back to the GP and I said, is there any other way? And they said, actually, we can try CBT counselling. And I was like, sounds brilliant, just like talking therapy. So I was like, yeah, this sounds great. So I did. I signed up for this, but there was a period of wait. I'm sure it was about a 4 week wait for whatever reason. And in that 4 weeks, it was really rock bottom for me, like really bad. And yeah, there was some sort of touch and go times, because going back to say that suicidal feelings, there was a lot of suicidal feelings, in all honesty. But the thing is that I've been scared of my whole life is death, and that's the only reason why I didn't do something like that, because I was petrified of death. So that's what stopped me from, say, doing that thing that I would have really regretted in the end. So I did have the CBT counselling, and at first it felt great. First few 2 3 sessions felt really good, and then when I started to explain, say, what I wanted to get out and out of my mind, there was again no empathy there, and it was very scripted. It was like so automated. It was just like the poor lady was just reading off of a script. And yeah, you've probably been to colleges and you've learned about this. It's fantastic, but I just needed someone to just unload to and to listen to me. And sadly, she wasn't. She was just diverting straight back to the script, and it just made me feel like I wasn't being listened to, and made me feel upset. So
It's
I actually,
like one of my favorite movies, Good Will Hunting. Like, you know, it's just someone to talk to. That's all he needed, was someone to talk to who could understand and empathize with, as opposed to, he said, look, I could tell you everything I've read in the book from school, but that's the feeling you get. And it wasn't that they were saying anything, you know, earth shattering. You didn't need a rocket scientist, but it just felt better. And you could tell the difference between someone who's good and someone who's, you know, just there.
yeah,
And
no,
it's, you could set yourself back a lot by going to someone who's bad. My GP didn't even mention depression, so I went through the ringer. I got colonoscopy and endoscopy, and I mean, thousands of dollars later and months later, he didn't even tell. I'm the one who said, look, you know, I feel depressed.
yeah, no, exactly that, and it's hard, you know, sometimes. And I honestly believe that the power of just a conversation can literally save lives. And yeah, for me, in the end, I lied my way out of the CBT sessions. I pretended that I was okay and a lot better when I really wasn't. I was at the very rock bottom at that point. I was the worst that I'd ever been. And yeah, I called up one day. I was like, look, I'm gonna stop doing these because I feel so much better. And she was like, are you sure? And trying to talk me around. I was like, look, I really, really feel a lot better. And hung up the phone. And I was just like, I wasn't. I was the worst I'd ever been. And yeah, so this goes on to lead in what sort of got me up and out of that depression. So I was sat there on a weekend, and it was like any other weekend. I was sat downstairs, crying my eyes out on the sofa, thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Like, what can I do to feel better? And just running thoughts around in my mind all day long. And I'm sat there, and just randomly, one single thought come into my mind, which totally transformed my life. And the thought said to me, could I live with the thought of dying with regrets? And I don't know where this thought come from, but I asked myself that question, and the answer was obviously no. So I started to ask myself a few more different questions about my life and things that are going on in my mind, etc. And I was like, you know what? I started to reflect on my life and look back at all the obstacles that I'd already overcome. Obviously, brain injury and overcoming, say, death. And I thought, if I can overcome that, surely I can overcome this depression. So there and then, I just started to, without even knowing what gratitude meant, I didn't have a clue what gratitude meant. I just started to practice daily gratitude and look at everything that I had in my life rather than everything that I didn't have, because I soon realized that the nightmare that I was going through was actually a dream for somebody else. And by practicing daily gratitude, I noticed that I'd almost become like a positivity magnet, and I started to attract these small positive things into my life. And before you know it, I I got what I call is a release date for the prison that I was in, and the prison which I called a home. And they said, like, you need to be moved out on this date, whatever date it was. And I was just like, yes. I was like, thank you. And I was so grateful because, like I say, going back to when I was really at rock bottom, I used to wake up in the morning, and the first thing that I'd say was "fuck you." Like, I didn't want to wake up some mornings. That's how bad it got. And then once I started to practice this daily gratitude, I flipped it from "fuck you" to "thank you," because every day is a gift. Every day that we open our eyes up, that is a gift, because some people sadly don't open their eyes up in the morning. And as long as your heart's still beating, like, you put your hand on your heart there, and if that's beating, like, you can make the change. Like, you can turn your life around, and you can become the hero of your own movie. So just as long as that heart beating and you've woken up in the morning, like, you can do whatever you want with your life. It will be hard, but you got the choice, like, do things with your life. So I was just like, yes, like, I got this release date from prison. And before you know it, yeah, I was packing my stuff up, and I left it all to the last minute. And oh, it was a nightmare because I was rushing around trying to load up the van, packed it all away, back to my parents. And on the way back to my parents, I actually set myself this travel goal to visit a different country every single month for a complete year. And I was like, yeah, this is what I need to do, because progression equals happiness. And when you're progressing in life, you are happy. Like, when I was, say, losing my ex partner and losing my house, I didn't go around and tell everybody about it because I wasn't happy. But then when I set myself this travel goal, I did start to tell people, and I was like, yes, this is brilliant. Sort of where my name Fool Around the World come from, if you want to know, I'll tell you right now. So I said, I don't want to get back into that same routine of, say, 6, 7 years almost prior to, say, going out every weekend to pubs, clubs, bars, restaurants with just people just for the sake of it. I thought, I'm going to go out for this one time just to see what's going on. And I went out and I went to a pub and I met some, say, friends and people I knew from school. And they were like, "Oh, we heard what happened with your partner in your house and all this." And I was like, "Yeah, it's cool, like it's fine." And they said, "What are you gonna do with yourself?" And so I'm gonna visit a different country every single month for a complete year. And some people were like, "Yeah, like, amazing, all happy for me." And some people were like, a bit unsure. But this one guy, which was obviously drunk, but I believe you speak the truth when you're angry and you're drunk, and he just come out with, "How is a fool with a head like yours going to travel the world on his own?" And I was just like, I didn't know what to say, but I did. I put my drink down in the end. I said, you know what? I said, look, I'll show you what I'm going to do. And I went home and I literally just booked a one-way ticket to go backpacking to Croatia. And I did. Literally about 2 or 3 days later, I went backpacking to Croatia. And that's what started my journey. So I started to go to a different country up until February 2020, where 2020 come around. And I thought, I'm going to up my goals again because progression equals happiness to visit 20 countries in 2020. And I booked all these countries up. I went to Rome in February, but then COVID kicked in and put stop to all of my trips in 2020. So I thought, how could I use the knowledge that I'd gained from facing and overcoming the adversities in my life to potentially help other people that are struggling in these times of uncertainty due to this whole COVID lockdown? Because I see how desperate people were getting, like similar to positions to what I was in when I was stuck in the home on my own. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to become vulnerable and I'm going to create a page which I called Fool Around the World. I'm just going to become vulnerable and share my journey on social media, which I did. And the more that I become vulnerable, the more that I enjoy sharing with other people. And I believe that vulnerability is a superpower because not only are we healing others, we're healing ourselves too by opening up and sharing our journeys. And at the end of 2020, I thought, how am I going to level up once more? So I said to myself, I'm going to start to write a book to share the knowledge with other people in a book. And I have started to write this book and I've titled it, Could I Live with the Thought of Dying with Regrets?
Yeah, that's a great title. I guess the questions on my mind are two of them. You got out of the depression with no meds?
No meds at all, no.
That's unbelievable to me. That's and how the hell do you fund all this? A trip for all these countries?
Well, so it would just be from working, literally work, save, and then just prioritize my money because sometimes we need to make sacrifices to do the things that we want in life because if we don't sacrifice for what we want, then what we want becomes a sacrifice. So many people you see on social media are like these designer shoes, handbags, hats, you name it. Like this isn't me. I'd sooner spend 100, 2, 3, 4, £500 on a trip and an experience rather than a piece of clothing or some shoes.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
You can do it. You can do it, especially you can do it not that expensive, especially in the area that you're at. Quickly rattle off the places that you've been.
oh God, off the top of my head, solo. So from the Cape Town, I've done Cape Town, Croatia, Barcelona, Norway, Rome, Ireland. Oh my God, so many. But yeah, I've been to even with my ex before. I've done probably about 25 countries so far.
How about give me your top three that you would go back to again?
Yeah, great question. So for me, Philippines is probably number one. Number two, I'd probably say Thailand. Number three would be Cape Town.
Okay, Ireland is a top. Got Japan and China for me, and then Ireland. Those are the three places I would love to go back to. Only been once. How about three places that you've never been that you'd love to go?
Japan, Cuba,
My sister.
and yeah, Japan, Cuba, and oh my God, there's everywhere in the world. I want to go to everywhere.
We got a.
Canada. Let's say Canada.
Oh, Canada's good. Yeah, Montreal, Toronto, some beautiful places in Canada on the west. Do you have a favorite place in the States that you've been to?
I've been to a few places. I like Florida. Florida's amazing. Sunshine State, right?
That's where I live. It's
Yeah,
amazing until you
amazing.
live there and you hear the stories
Yeah,
and have to live around the
that's it.
people.
That's like when people say about London. Like London's amazing. I'm like, nah, but Florida. I love Florida.
Well, this is a great story. The book sounds like it'd be a great read. This conversation. I know you're a motivational speaker. Is that what you aim to be when this pandemic ends? To travel like you have, write, speak in front to help? Because, man, if this isn't an inspiring conversation, I don't know what is. And I have a story to tell, but it's, again, I hate to make comparisons, but it's so I don't know, small compared to what all these other stories that I heard that they had to go there. Here's Brent. Brent, you missed the part where I told Ryan about my no punching in the face policy. You'll have to rewatch it from the beginning. This is the one I was telling you about, the no punching in the face.
Hi,
But
Brent. Yeah. So what I'll go on saying then.
Like, I tell a story and I've gotten very good response, but like literally I'm at the bottom of this stuff where people are, on their deathbed. And so it's an incredible story. Have you gotten a lot of traction when this thing ends? Are you going to be able to travel the world and tell the story, or what do you envision?
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant question. So I've actually recently quit my unfulfilled day job of over 13 years due to Clubhouse, so I can network with some amazing individuals and just get my story out there. Because my mission and vision is to have positive impact on over 1 billion lives and to be the beacon of light that the world wakes up to.
Yeah, I just wrote. I just did an article on LinkedIn about influencers. You should have a read at it. But you are exactly the type of person that I'm talking about at the end, that should be the voice that's lifted, as opposed to the voices that are out there with. And the thing about it is, even in our conversation, when you give a cliche, it's not an empty cliche. It truly is something that you've lived and experienced. So it holds more weight than just these empty cliches that people are giving. So it's been great getting a chance to chat and hear your whole story. I'm here to help any way I can to get your story out there and your voice out there. So definitely keep us updated as to when that book comes out or what else you're trying to do. We'll get you out of here how we always do. You get to meet one person for 24 hours. They have to be living, and you can't be related to them. Who are you choosing, and what are you guys going to do? I'm going to try and make it happen for one of our guests.
Oh my God, that's a great question. The minute I'm going to manifest this right now, it's got to be Les Brown, because he's probably the greatest speaker on earth. Like, as soon as he speaks, you can't not listen to him. Like, you cannot listen to that guy. Like, he is full of wisdom, knowledge, and just passion and purpose. And I could just list it forever. So Les Brown for me.
Yeah, he's on the list now, and it's not the hardest person we've had. We've had some pretty interesting answers. My friend Brent wants to go fishing with George W. Bush. He doesn't realize that he has to actually be a guest on the show to be eligible for that. But Les Brown on the list. If I get where I want to go and you get where you want to go, we're going to make that happen. So I really enjoyed the story, a remarkable story. Check it out. Fool Around the World. We have his link tree here. Instagram is the best way to get a hold of you or look at your stuff.
Yeah, Instagram. Send me a DM. If anyone wants to send me a DM, I will get back to you on Instagram.
Yeah, well, I hope to meet you in person in travels, whether you're here in the States or whether I get back to there again. We'll put that on the list too. I'm a fool around the world who kind of can't do that. I hope to use what I'm doing now to leverage me to get. We have a goal of leaving the country once a year. We're very fortunate that last year when we got married, we went on our honeymoon. So that is still a goal that's intact. And it's going to be a challenge this year to get out of the country. It's a little bit different for us here in the U.S. to get out of the country because everything is revolving around a plane flight, right? So when you're in the UK, it's a little bit easier to go from country to country. And, one of the things I don't like about doing that is I don't get a passport stamp in every country because it's so free to move around. Anyway, that's any last words to everyone here?
Yeah, I got a few last words actually. So when I was in a coma, on a life support machine, I wasn't conscious whether to decide to turn my life support machine off or not, and it was totally in somebody else's control. And I've noticed that many people who are alive and well have already unconsciously turned the life support machine off on themselves. They pulled the plug on their own life support machine. And Benjamin Franklin once said that most people die at 25 and aren't buried until 75. Because the biggest loss in life is not death, it's living a life unlived. So guys, go out there, follow your passions, follow your purpose, because we only get one life. So get out there and just live that life. Don't be afraid of fear, because the pain of fear and failure is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime.
That's, true story. You're living it. I try and live my life by the golden rule that life is short, and I always need reminders. So today was a great reminder to keep doing that. Onward and upward, I always say, and that's perfect for what you're doing. And really appreciate your time here today. A great conversation. Stay tuned for the Wolff Den tomorrow also, but for everyone else, have a great weekend. Stay well, and check out Ryan, Fool Around the World. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Matt, as well. Thanks.
Yeah, great.